Hello everybody and welcome to the 12th episode. Or is it the 11th?
I believe it's the 11th.
Is it the 11th?
It should be, yeah.
Okay. Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 11th episode of the Nisekoi Volume Reviews. I am not alone here, we have Jaden.
Yep, I mean, I've been on every single one at this point. It's kind of expected.
And my name is Corbin, and today we are looking at Nisekoi Volumes 22 and 23. The chapters that are included are 189 to 207.
Yep, so
Now,
we got a little bit longer this time.
Now, if I'm off today, that is because, I normally do, since these chapters are 9 volumes each, I do 9 chapters on the front page of my notes and 9 chapters on the back, right?
All right.
Well, on the first page, I only got 8 chapters, right? And on the back page, I got 10 chapters. That would normally be good, right? Except volume 23 has 10 chapters.
Okay.
So I've got another page to that. And I've got maybe the best drawing I've ever created.
All right.
It'll be somewhere. Maybe even in the thumbnail. I don't know. We'll get into it. But last time, what really went down was the whole Marika marriage arc, right? Marika's parents were selling her off to get stuff done to her. You know what I'm saying? So
I think that last time the arc really, it's a good arc so far, and through these volumes, it's really freaking good. So it ended on a high note.
oh yes, these volumes, I think they may be the best in the series.
I agree. I think that these are the best so far.
I think they are. So pretty much, 189, because last time what was happening is Mariko was thinking about the hairpin that Raku'd given her, right? So pretty much we start off with Chika talking to Marika, her mother, and saying in the dressing room and be like, hey, get ready for this, right? And Marika sort of being, well, how Marika is to her mother, right? And pretty much what ends up happening is Chika learns that, all of Marika's friends escaped, right? She's like, we're going to speed the wedding up by 1 hour, right?
Yep.
And then there's the whole thing of Marika's now in her wedding dress, right? And her mom compliments her saying, hey, you look nice, right? It's literally Marika in a wedding dress.
Yep.
Right? Hair all done up, just...
Yep. More marketing, baby. More merchandise.
More marketing! Pretty much the proceedings go on, right? And while everything's going on, she's getting married off to this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I will say, like, this guy's obviously an older dude, right? And we find out more stuff about him later. I do like detail his face is never shown.
Yep.
I think that's a very good detail to have.
Yeah, I can agree.
I mean...
Because he plays a role that's meant to be he's not a good character, you know?
Well, yeah, we'll get into it later.
All right.
He's got a moment later that we'll get into, right? But pretty much as all of this is going on, the proceedings are going on, and there's the moment where they're pretty much getting ready to be officially married, and it's like to, hey, kiss each other now, right? Rocker comes in and just, stop the wedding, right? 190, Marika's got an earpiece in, right? And Chika says, send him away, right? And Marika makes some really harsh remarks to Raku, just being like, hey, man, who needs you around, right? You rejected me, so why do I even care anymore, right? And she's like, just let me be happy. And Raku's like, well, looking like that, you don't look happy, right? And this is when Marika's like, I mean, he's not wrong. Okay, everybody, sorry about that. We had an unexpected interruption.
Yep.
Right? Pretty much Marika's all, like, she realizes what Raku said, and, like, Raku's like, you don't look happy, right? So what Marika ends up doing, what Marika does is, like, she takes off the wedding dress veil, right? Pulls her hair back down, puts her hairpin in, right? Looks like the regular Marika, just in a wedding dress, like Haru did in a few chapters before, right? And Marika's just like, alright, Raku dearest, please whisk me away, right? And as, like, things start to go on, right, we see what Onodera and Rui were doing, right?
Yeah, very funny twist.
They poisoned everybody, pretty much.
Yep.
It's the whole thing there. And there's a whole thing where they're like, alright, we're going to come rescue you now, Marika, right? 191, Honda's there, and she's like, this ain't gonna work. And Marika's like, oh, he'll come get me. You wanna give me a chair I can sit in? Right, so Marika's just sitting in the chair, right? And she's like, I'll wait here for them to come get me, right? Another thing with Tsugumi and Honda fighting each other, and as Marika's sitting in this chair, she looks down at the ring as the groom comes over, and he's like, hey, I'm sorry, can I have that ring back, right? It's my late wife's ring, right? I was helped through some very hard times by the Tachibana family, so I could not decline whenever.
Gave him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Exactly, right? And he's like, I'm sorry, and pretty much he's like, thank you for understanding about that, right?
Yep.
As he just leaves with a ring, she's like, hope you have a good life, and she's like, you too. All right, that's the
end of that.
Yeah, it's the end of that. I mean, I guess it's a good moment, right?
It's fine.
Also like a weird thing. But
I mean,
the Yui arc is done. I don't want to talk about weird things anymore.
Okay. Let's stay on a positive note here.
Right. And then like there's all these people that like Raku and Chitoge have to get through to get to Marika, and Raku's like, you know what, Chitoge, do like you did last time and just chuck me across them, right?
Yep.
So he goes through them, right? Pretty much next chapter, Kosaki and Ruri are running because all these guys that like got poisoned by him are chasing them, right? Shu appears, right? And she's like, I'll save you. And the whole thing is that Ruri's using Shu as a human shield.
Nice.
Right? Then we have Mikage, who just comes in with an entire helicopter, right?
Ugh.
And Tsugumi and Honda keep fighting, right? And like Raku and all of these people, they're just like getting up to start like fighting here, right? Like climbing up the ladder to get everything right. Pretty much Marika's climbing above Raku, right? And then Chitoge's below them, right? Honda comes through, just cuts like the ladder or like the rope thing, just cuts it down like to where Raku's falling to his death, right? Grabs Marika and Chitoge's falling too, right? Raku ends up hanging on to the top rung and pulling himself up, and Chitoge's got a little thing where she flips around and lands like a cat on the ground, right? And Honda speaks to Marika like, why do you think this would work? You know who your mother is. You know what would have happened. Why are you trying this? Right? And that's just the entire thing there. Pretty much next, these people called the Shadow Guard appear, right? And their whole thing is that they're pretty much the other ninja people.
Yeah. Okay, so before we continue, the helicopter.
What about
this?
helicopter?
Really jumped the shark for me because I feel like this was just a stupid moment and over the top ridiculous.
I mean, the whole thing.
They did the exact same thing in Love is War to the exact beat. In the final arc, they have to rescue Princess Kaguya and have to get a helicopter to save her.
Really?
Because the main male MC becomes super rich and is able to buy a helicopter to save her from her, very traditional family, and it's a very stupid moment.
The exact same thing happens.
Yes.
Everybody, sorry about the audio.
Yeah.
But right, so pretty much all of these ninja people come up, and that's the whole thing there, right? And as they're all coming to get Marika back, right, what ends up happening is that there is hey, hello everybody, we got interrupted again. Some days just aren't our days.
Yep.
It sucks. Sorry about the audio there too. If you haven't figured out, we record these in a school parking lot, and it's not always the most optimal time to record, and well, that was one of them.
Yep.
Right. So where were we? The helicopter?
Oh, yes. This helicopter jumped the shark, man. And I just feel like why did they not hear it? They would have heard that thing from damn 5 miles away.
Well, that was the thing. Like, Shu and Kosaki and Raku, they all hear it.
Okay.
Or Ruri.
It's just, I think that whole thing is just a little too over the top for me. And I get that it's anime and manga, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, right? So pretty much the Shadow Guard, the ninja people appear, right? And apparently Honda's the best one of them all, right? She's got the surname Shinobu.
Yep.
Like, can you believe it, right? And as they're all coming to apprehend Marika, Honda comes in and attacks them all, right? 193, Honda gives her full support to Marika and is like, while I may serve like the Chika and Tachibana family, I serve you, right? It's the same with like Tsugumi's like overlying like respect and loyalty to Chitoge.
She has a redemption arc, just like a character in Love is War does. I feel like I think he maybe took some heavy inspiration from this series.
Love is War's a dude who writes it?
Yeah.
I don't know about Nisekoi. I don't know what gender Nashikomi is.
Yeah, he actually just got revealed a couple days ago, like what his identity is, but story for another day.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll have the whole Nisekoi Love is War debate once we finish this.
Okay.
We'll have a whole final episode where we just go through all this. But pretty much Honda gives not Tsugumi. Jeez, what's her name? Tachibana, Marika, her support, right? We get some more gray panels explaining Honda's entire thing, right? And pretty much what ends up happening is like Honda and Marika have a heart-to-heart moment here, right? And eventually Honda's like, hey, Tsugumi, you want to team up with me and beat these guys' asses?
Yeah,
right?
I feel like Honda's betrayal is a little sudden, but it's fitting.
I think it's very fitting.
Yeah.
It's the same thing of like, all these girls are very important besides for Onodera, really.
Yeah.
Right? And they've all got this person who will loyally respect and protect them, right? And having Honda do that, I think that's like really good, right? Pretty much what happens next is Raku in the helicopter has now gotten over to the window, right? And the whole thing is that he's laying down with his legs tucked up behind the ladder and like, hey Marika, come jump and we'll get you out of here, right?
Yep.
That's the whole thing. Marika runs and just jumps and just hugs Raku, right? As they fly away. And 194 starts off with Chica being like, damn it, why are you so strong? Right, as we get the whole aftermath of the situation, right? And eventually, Marika's dad comes up and speaks with Marika's mother, right? And they've got a conversation where her dad is just like, hey, isn't it about time we change the ways of this family?
Yep.
Right? I mean, the tradition is important at all, but is it still important with all of this? Right? So it's a very nice moment where they sort of come to this understanding, right? And her dad also is like, there was a time whenever you wanted to rebel too. You wanted to give her a chance to have something that you never had. Right, it's a very nice moment. And also, during this, like, we see a panel with, what's it called? Chica at school with her friends. Did you notice anything about that panel?
I didn't notice anything exactly. What were you gonna say about it?
If you didn't see it, I'm not gonna say anything yet. But if you didn't notice anything about this panel,
Oh, was it that her school friends look like Onodera and Chitoge and whatnot?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, their parents.
I picked up on that.
okay, yeah, that's the entire thing there, right? That's a little foreshadowing for a bit later.
All right.
But we'll get to that later, right? And then Marika tells Raku the whole thing of that her sickness is good, but it's not terrible yet, right? Like, it's going to be bad, but she's got to go to somewhere in Pittsburgh in the U.S. too.
Okay.
So there's some Pennsylvania representation.
All right.
Who doesn't want it? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
All right. And that's the whole thing there, right? And Raku's like, damn it, I couldn't change anything. I tried, and like Mark is like, but it's fine. Like, I'll be under my mom's control, but hopefully she won't sell me off and like all of this stuff, right? And Raku's like, damn it, I couldn't do anything, right? She gets a phone call, and it's her mother saying, do whatever the crap you want. I don't care at this point.
Plot convenience comes to save the day.
Yeah, and Raku's like, we did change something. Wait a second, right? And there's a whole thing in where he's like, this isn't a goodbye. You're in the U.S. Who cares? We'll come and see you. It doesn't matter, right? And at this point, we just see the two of them just like laughing and having a sort of good time together. We cut to Chica, who's just looking off into the distance.
Yep.
Right? 195, there's the airport, right? And pretty much all of the girls leaving. It's just Raku and Tachibana talking, and Marika says like, hey, you like both of the girls, right? You like Chitoge and you like Onodera. Come on, you gotta figure it out, right? There's no way that you haven't realized this. I got rejected. I'm gotta root for somebody,
Yeah.
right? And that's the whole thing there. And she's like, oh, wait a second, your hair's all messed up, right? Goes to fix his hair, and she just gives him a kiss,
Okay.
right? After this kiss, right, Honda and Marika get on the plane, and we learn that Honda's first name is Yoku, right? And there's just like signs leading to the future, right? And that's the end of the Marika.
All right.
That's Marika's exit out of the story.
So, one thing you forgot to mention was Marika, at some point in these chapters, I believe, explained to Raku why she never told him that she was going to get married off and about the deal and the bet that they made. And it's because Marika wanted to win over Raku fair and square without him feeling sorry for her. And,
Yeah.
you know, being dragged into this marriage
That's
with
during
her.
the whole thing whenever she tells him everything.
Okay.
Right? And she also mentions during that, like, I know you like,
Yeah.
I know everything.
That is some peak character writing. And that's why I think Marika is I think, the best written character in the series.
Well, we're not done yet.
Okay.
So, but the thing is just like, it's a really good arc. It is very emotional, right? And out of all of the girls, I think Tsugumi has the worst introduction, right?
Yeah.
But I think Marika's is pretty bad too, and it all just, Marika ends off on a perfect note, in my opinion.
And
right?
one problem I have is maybe I feel like Chica's change of heart again might be a little too sudden, maybe. But it is good.
But I do like the thing where we realize that she actually cares about her, right? It's just she's never shown it.
Yeah, so
right.
So far, this has been my favorite arc in the series.
Yeah.
It's a little ridiculous. It has problems, but I like it.
Yeah. I think this is also like the longest, and if you don't count all of this as like the long arc, right? This is like a 2-volume arc altogether, right? Like it's big stuff going on, right? 196, Raku wakes up in the morning, right? He's got 12 texts from Marika, right? Whole joke there, right? And he starts to think about more of like the whole stuff of like, hey, you like both of them, right? He gets like really scared of Chitoge, right? We learned that he's on a soda kick, right? Eventually he goes on a walk with Onodera, right? And there's a whole thing with like, where Onodera's like, why did you turn Marika down, right? And Raku's like, and Onodera's like, do you like somebody? And Raku's like, no. And he asked, and then he asked Onodera, and she's like, no, I don't like anybody, right? Whole joke there, and eventually Onodera's like, but there is something. Will you watch me for a little while, right? And it's just a whole thing of she's like, I'll do it eventually, right? But not yet, right? And there's the whole thing of like Chitoge at the end of the chapter, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's only gonna take damn near 20 volumes for them just to be honest with each other, you know?
It's a rom-com, Jaden.
It's a really long rom-com, so we gotta drag it out.
Okay, let's just get going, right?
All right.
Last chapter, volume 22, right? Chitoge and Raku go on a date, right? They go do like some roller coaster stuff, karaoke, right? At this point, we've got maybe, I think what is Jaden's favorite moment of the series?
My favorite joke in the entire series.
Where Chitoge
sings "Welcome to the Jungle" by Guns N' Roses at the top of her lungs. It's amazing. It's such a niche reference that I feel like they could get by with it in Japan, but over here, a lot of people know the song.
Welcome to it.
It's such a good reference.
Right. They've introduced some baseball and like other things, right? And the chapter ends with the two of them having a disagreement, right? They're just like, why are you doing this? And it's just a big disagreement, right? And we end the volume with Raku going like, all right, screw her, right? Let me go to the ramen restaurant. Hold me that. He walks in there, Chitoge is sitting down.
Yep.
Right, got noodles all coming out of her face. Right? 198, pretty much for like half chapter, they just, everywhere they go, they just run into each other.
They just keep the gag going.
They just run into each other until eventually the two of them just run into each other at the train station going home as something comes over to broadcast saying, all trains are closed, right?
Yep.
And two of them just can't handle anymore, and they're like, this is like hysterical as crap.
It's ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous and out there. Like, how has this happened as many times as it has? Right? And they go to the arcade, and during this time, Raku sort of has a moment where he's like, I've come to realize something. I never really get tired of her company, right? For as much crap as we get through, like, I'm never tired of what we do together.
Yep.
Right? As they go to get photo stickers, right? 199, they go to get photo stickers, right? And pretty much, Chitoge's like, well, you look really cheered up, Raku. That was my goal of today. And as Raku's sort of thinking this, is like, oh, wow, that's really nice, right? And Chitoge goes to get drinks, right? And she ends up bringing a soda back for Raku because she's noticed that he's on a soda kick, right? That's foreshadowing to the umph degree right there, Jaden. Look at that. You see that? That's foreshadowing.
Well, considering I haven't read ahead, no, I don't know what
yes,
that
it is.
To.
It was pointed out earlier, right? When at like 196, right? Raku, it's showing he's on soda kick.
Okay,
that's foreshadowing.
The prior one's foreshadowing. It's not even foreshadowing. He's just
it's a payoff.
It's just a character trait, and you get the payoff later on.
Yes, it's a payoff.
Continue.
Right. And as Raku's like does some deep inner thought, and he's like, "Wow, I really took all of this for granted, right? I don't know what happened, but is this feeling love?"
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
It only took 23 volumes.
I have to say, like, on your first read through of this, right, or whenever I first read through it, like, this was a truly amazing moment for me reading the series, right? For as much as this series, I'll give it crap, right? It probably is my favorite series of all time, and just this moment, it's just so good, and it makes a great scene to a payoff, and I just think it really works, right?
Onodera's better though.
Whatever, it's your opinion.
But yeah, I agree.
And to be honest, after reading this series multiple times, Onodera's fourth girl.
Really?
Yeah, she's fourth.
Okay.
My rankings have always been, it's always Tsugumi, Chitoge, Marika, and Onodera.
All right.
I think they're all great characters, right? But just like my personal preference, I think Onodera's. All right, let's get into it. Chapter 200, Raku sort of has this realization. He has like this inner introspection of himself. And he's just like, but what does this mean, right? And he's like, well, that makes sense to why, like, I felt sad whenever I learned that she was going to be leaving, right? And it's this big thing all around, right? And he eventually asks Chitoge, like, hey, what's this guy you, like, write? Like, and she's just like, oh, I don't know, right? And she just gives some common descriptors, and she's like, I'm just really crazy about him, right?
Yep.
And the whole thing here is that Raku's just like, wait a second, what does that all mean, right? Whenever he comes to Garrus, I think he sort of realizes that it could be him,
Yep.
right? And we just cut, as I put it, Raku looking like shit,
Okay.
right? This is my first drawing of all of this.
So yeah, it's pretty great, I will admit.
It's a good drawing, right?
It kind of looks like Batman when he takes off his mask and he still has the black eyeshadow around his eyes.
Right, but she's like, really, man, you look like crap. And Rocky's like, man, I just feel like a jerk. Like, I've liked these two girls. Like, this isn't normal, right? And she was like, it doesn't matter. Just all that matters is that in the end, you make a clear choice about this, right?
Yep.
You just decide one way or the other, right? And the chapter ends with the second, our main character's 30 year starting as we get some spring text, right?
Oh, yeah.
And who's the spring? But guess who, Jaden? Who? Who is it? Who is it?
I don't know. It's the girl whose name is literally Spring in Japanese.
It's Haru, right? Chapter 201, we get some stuff where Haru's in her second year, so she's having to fill out the future plans survey.
Yep.
Right? She pretty much doesn't know what she wants to do, so she asked all of our main cast about it, right? And eventually it ends up that Raku comes over to the shop to help out. Whole thing where two of them are really cute together, and at the end we learn that Onodera's mom is putting up the two sisters and Raku into this contest, right?
Yep, a baking contest.
For Japanese sweets and confections, right? 202, Haru is the contest leader, right? Pretty much we learned that Raku just makes some really good food, right? And eventually Haru gets really down on herself. She's like, man, my sister and Raku, they just work so well together. Like, yeah, it sucks, right? And she's like, they don't need me, right? So she goes out and sits in the hall, and then Raku's like, hey, come back. We do need you.
What happened was she made a mistake during the competition and felt bad for it.
Yeah.
Felt she was useless.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, sure.
But yeah.
So Raku comes down and he's like, hey, come back. We need you. We don't know what we're doing. Right? And then there's the whole thing where at the end of the chapter, Haru's like, I know you're my Prince Charming, right? Pretty much cat's out of the bag. We learn that Haru knew everything about the false relationship and what all of this means, right? And she's like, you know what? No matter what, just be good to my sister.
Yep.
Right? And as Raku's like, what does that mean, right? They all get to work and they're all having a really good time doing it. And as we cut, we learned that they got first place in the competition.
Yep.
Right?
This was a good chapter.
Well,
good couple chapters.
Let's finish the arc.
Oh, there's
right?
more?
Well, there's a few last things.
Okay.
Right? And at the end, we pretty much just get there and she's like, well, and she goes talking to you. She's like, damn it. I just realized I was in love this whole time with him, right?
Yep.
I just really need to give it up. And at the end of the chapter, Haru comes back up to Raku, asks her to taste test some stuff, and we see Haru has cut her hair.
Yep.
Right, and
man, I remember this. I could have told you. I could have bet money on it that there'd be a haircut coming soon with her.
with her.
Yeah, because whenever anime girl has character development, they got to show it somehow, you know?
I mean, that's the whole thing with the time skip. Even if it's a weak time skip, their hair gets so much longer. They cut it all the way down.
Quintessential quintuplets, man. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
But, anyways. Oh, love is war, love is war. A girl develops and cuts her hair. It's like a prophecy at this point.
But I think this is very good. I mean, Haru, I really like this whole Haru thing.
Yeah.
I think it's very good. And we pretty much end Haru's part in the story with, like, the two Raku and Haru talking in the wind as Haru's things fly up. And Raku's like, the teddy bears.
One more time, yeah.
Right. And I think this is the perfect end to Haru's character story.
Yep.
Right? I don't think it overstayed its welcome. I think it had everything it needed to be. And it's a perfect place for Haru's character to end off.
I think Haru was honestly a very good character in my opinion, because she played a minor role and she wasn't invasive about it. She wasn't like Yui, who takes center stage for a good amount of some of the chapters.
Yeah.
And she's a wholesome character.
And everything that has to do with her has to go on with her inferiority complex with her sister.
Yep.
I think Haru's a character that's very handled really well, right? I think it's obvious from the get-go that she's not going to win into harem.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but I think her role in it, it's a good role. I mean, I don't see any problem with it. Right? Pretty much after this, 204, we get pretty much a thing where Paula's got her future going on, right? Being she's in the same class as Haru.
Yep.
Right? And pretty much there's a whole thing where, like, Paula's like, well, Tsugumi, you and Rock are gonna get married and all of that stuff, right? Little thing there, right? We see Claude come back. Claude comes back and he's like, hey, Tsugumi, or Shishiro, right?
Yep.
Go in and find out they aren't dating, right? Give me that hard-earned evidence, right? There's the whole thing, right? And pretty much Tsugumi's tracking the two of them, right? And eventually Tsugumi learns the truth.
Yep.
Right? She hears Raku and Shitoki talking about it. And they're both like, I'm so sorry. We should have told you earlier. It's just after a while, it's just...
Yeah, because Tsugumi's devastated at this point.
Yeah, and she's like, but what? And eventually she's like, no, there's no hard feelings. I totally understand all of this stuff going on, right? And later she's at her house and she's like, wait a second. That means, well, wait, if they're not dating, that means they don't love each other. Which means, what can I do? What can I do? Whoa.
That's the first thing her mind goes to is
right.
to butt in.
And we see that Paula is behind her and she's like, oh, really? I didn't know about that. She's like, how'd you figure out? What did you figure out for me? And Paula's like, you were murmuring to yourself the entire time about this, right? And she says, you know what's something that'll make this perfect? You're wearing this to school tomorrow, right? 205, Tsugumi is wearing her girl's uniform.
Yep.
Right, not the men's uniform that she normally wears. Right, there's a whole thing where, like, Rocky's staring, like, and Rocky's like, whenever something changes, I'm gonna look, I don't care, right? If the sky was turning purple all of a sudden, I'd be looking at that,
yeah.
Right? And Tsugumi just gets really, like, a tsundere with him and is just like, hey, stop looking at me, right? And just smacks him across the face, right? The whole thing is like they're on classroom duty. Tsugumi does the chair stimmy up the stairs, right? Laying down, just crawling up.
So Raku doesn't look up going up the stairs.
Yep. And eventually they're going outside to buy some stuff for the animal care facility, right? As Tsugumi breaks her foot or sprains it or whatever, right? Raku grabs it back, right? And at this point, Rakugen's like, hey, I'm sorry, we didn't tell you before, right? And he's like, without you, as much as you helped us, we would have been lost, right? We wouldn't have been able to do anything if Marika. You've been a thank you for everything you've done, right? That's the whole thing there. And eventually Tsugumi's like, hey, I've got a friend I was talking to the other day, and I know you know a lot about love, so can I ask you something, right? It's a whole, hey, I'm gonna ask for a friend, right? I feel like at this point we've all realized what this means in a story.
Yeah.
Right? That's the whole thing there, right? And the whole thing is like, Rock is like, it's love. What your friend is feeling, the only thing it can be is love, right? And Tsugumi's just like, wow, it's love. Is like the next day, they cut to, it's raining at the school building, right? And there's the whole thing of like, Tsugumi's like, hey, thank you for what am I doing, Jaden? I'm getting out of order here. And it's my favorite arc of the series. I should know this by heart by now.
All
right? And Tsugumi's like, oh, really? It's love, right? As the rain starts to fall, right? And the whole thing here is that Tsugumi goes to talk with Chitoge, right? And she's like, do you really not harbor any feelings for Raku? And Chitoge's like, no. He's like, no, I really do. I do, right?
Yeah.
And Tsugumi's like, hey, that's fine. right? As like they go to sleep together that night, right? Next morning at school, right? It's raining again. Raku's sitting in a classroom waiting for Chitoge to get down with some career stuff, right? Tsugumi comes in and is like, hey, thanks for all of that you said to me yesterday. I told my friend and they were very thankful for it, right?
Yep.
And as this happens, she goes over and cups Raku's ears as she sort of confesses to him. She's like, I've loved you this entire time, right? I finally realized it, but I understand that what it means for me to be happy is for the mistress to be happy. And if she's happy with you, I'm not going to take that away from her.
Yep.
Right? And she's like, in the future, if it's anybody else, I'll let myself truly fall in love. Right? As Rocky's like, hey, what'd you say? I couldn't hear you. Right? As the rain stops.
Yep.
Right? And at this point, Tsugumi is done.
Very good art for Tsugumi. Man, they're wrapping up everybody's story in this volume.
We've got 2 volumes left, Jaden. And of course it's because the last 2 girls are right the main ones, right? I didn't really enjoy this arc. Tsugumi's always been my favorite girl, right? I've just liked her entire character arc, right?
Did you cover the last chapter?
We'll get to that, Jaden.
Right.
I want to talk about Tsugumi first, because Tsugumi is best girl.
Yeah, sure.
Jaden, I know you're worried about time constraints. I hope you know, we ended 11 o'clock.
I know.
We've got 7 minutes.
All right.
We're fine. To the people listening to this, you don't understand that. But Tsugumi's arc was great, man. I just can't tell you enough. It's a perfect send-off for her character. I love the emotional moments with how she's like, I'll let myself fall in love eventually, but I can't now because I know what is going on here. Mm-hmm. Chitoge loves you, and well, I may love you too. It's what it means for me to be happy is for her to be happy.
Yeah, but I think the best part is that she grew to understand what she was feeling and how to apply it later on. I think that was good. So,
I think it's a very good arc, right?
Tsugumi's definitely not my favorite character, but I think she was handled well.
I think Volume 23 is maybe the best volume of the series ever, right? Like, the moment where the 2 of them confess is so good. Or not where the 2 of them confess, where Raku realizes his feelings. It's a great moment. And then this is Tsugumi stuff, and, like, the Haru stuff, too. I think it's just really well done. And I mean, for this, it's a special occasion. You guys know how I like to draw. I drew some fan art of best girl herself, Tsugumi. Right.
All right.
I will put this up somewhere, right? You guys will be able to see it if you're watching a YouTube video. What do you think of my fan art, Jaden?
Well, you've fallen down the path of no return with the fan art, man.
So, see, it's that perfect type of fan art. It's like the baby's first fan art, right?
Yeah.
It's really bad, right? I didn't like, but we got some shading going on down there.
I mean, it's definitely got. I mean, the hair's nice. I'll give you that.
It's Tsugumi, right?
Yeah.
The ribbon in there.
Yeah.
I did the eye as well. Some good fan art, right? For best girl herself, Tsugumi. Because Tsugumi's best girl, I don't care what you say, I'll fly off the deep end, right? We had the old joke last time about the space race, right? Tsugumi's the one who has always been on the moon, right? She's never left.
So she's an alien.
Sure.
All right.
But I think this was a very good arc to wrap up Tsugumi's character.
Okay.
I mean, do you have anything wrong with the arc?
Not really, no.
I think it works well for character, right? 207, the last chapter, right? Ruri is dreaming at night. She sees Shu in her dream, right? And she's like, hey, we're about to go get married, right? Ruri's like, why am I dreaming about this? She goes and punches Shu, right? We pretty much learn later that Onodera has the date she's going to confess planned out, right? It's maybe the most notable thing that comes out of these chapters, right? So we learned that Ruri and Shu are going to be going to the same school, right? And we learned that Shu enjoys tutoring kids and that he is going to be going into education as a teacher, right? Miss Kyoko infected him that much, right? Or influenced him. Yeah. That's the right word.
Affected him.
Affected. Influenced.
Right.
Influenced worse.
Yeah.
Right? We learned that Rui's going for foreign language stuff, right? And Ruri's like, do you still like Miss Kyoko? And before Shu can answer, right, this lost kid comes up and can't speak English, right? So
she
who do you have?
English, she can't speak Japanese.
Yeah, whatever. She can't speak the language that they speak, right? She's this lost kin, right? Haha, my last drawing is thing of lost kin from Hollow Knight.
Okay.
I think it's funny.
Man, we almost had a perfect volume here. Like, I would have genuinely nearly gave this volume a 10 out of 10. But since 1 out of the 10 chapters is bad, it gets a 9.
But Jaden, here's the thing. Normally these volumes are how long? 9 chapters.
Yes.
We had a perfect 9 chapters, right? To be honest, I think the Shu and Ruri stuff ends off well, right? I think it's a good end of an arc whenever we get down to it,
Yep.
right? I mean, if you haven't figured out what's going to happen already.
Yeah. So
I mean, the whole thing with Ruri's.
So here's the thing, right? I was nearly about to say that these 2 volumes had no bad chapters.
Then you read 207.
I nearly did. But overall, I'd give these volumes a solid 9 or close to maybe even 9.5. Probably not.
If it's 1 chapter, it's really making it. We've got 19 chapters.
Yes, but I don't like Ruin Shu.
You don't like Ruin Shu that much, right? Well, in the end, I think these are really good volumes, right?
Yeah.
I think these are my favorite volumes. It wraps up like a bunch of stories. Like, it wraps up Marika's story in a beautiful way.
Yep.
Right? It wraps up Tsugumi's story.
Yep.
In the best way possible, because Tsugumi is best girl. Look at this picture, Jaden.
Yep.
You can't say my dedication for Tsugumi is not perfect.
Sure.
Right? And it ends off the Haru stuff in a great note, too, right?
Yep.
These are good volumes, right?
I agree.
Any other notes that you want to make on these guys?
So the best girl is obviously Onodera, but Tachibana's up there too. I really like Tachibana's development. Chitoge next, she's fine. And then I'd say Haru, and then Tsugumi.
You think Haru's better than Tsugumi?
Yeah.
Whatever. I like Tsugumi the best.
But overall, these were very good volumes. I enjoyed them.
Alright, and with that, I don't have anything else to say about these volumes. I really like what these all have to offer, and again, I'm sorry?
Yeah, just from hearing us talk about this, you can tell there's not many bad things about these volumes. They're good. We did not have many criticisms.
No, I mean, the worst thing I can give a chapter is in my notes page, right? I'll just have one line, like the whole chapter where Yui sang, I just put the chapter was just called Yui Sings, right?
Yep.
Well, here, like, for chapter 190, I've got, like, a whole, like, dense notes, and it's just really good volumes here. I mean, I can't complain, right?
Yep, that's all I have for me.
Yeah, again, these are Nisekoi volumes 22 and 23, right? Chapters 189 to 207.
Yep.
Great volumes. I don't have anything wrong with them. Again, sorry for all of the mess-ups earlier, right?
Yeah.
But we're doing the best when we can record, right? I think these are very good volumes, and next time, normally we talk about 2 volumes. Next time, we are just talking about volume 24.
All right, see you guys.
So, yep, see ya. Mr. Glowplasma and Jaden out.